A day. I could sure use an afternoon pick-me-up. Hold up. The new 93.7 The Ticket location has a milk, coffee, and tea inside? Oh yeah, this is a game changer.
Need an afternoon pick-me-up? How about a coffee or smoothie on your way to work? Stop by the Ticket Mill location on 1040 O Street to get your go-to drink or try out our new game day drinks exclusive to the Ticket Mill location. We know it'll make your day a million times better.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Coppell Chevrolet GMC, and we have some really big savings for you right now. Our new crossover sale is underway. New Terrains, Equinoxes, and Trailblazers starting at $23,290. That's right, $23,290. Also, we've continued our huge Sierra and Silverado truck sale with over $10,000 off new pickups. You heard right, over $10,000 off list. Coppell truly has a small town feel with big city deals. We're right down 144th Street or at CoppellCars.com. Stock numbers G260980 and C119824.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. An Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids and pets in or out of your yard. Increase security and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
Babe, pack your bags. We're going to Vegas.
Vegas?
We just got the estimate from the wedding caterer, and we're going to have to elope.
Actually, Members Owned Credit Union is offering no-fee home equity lines of credit. We can borrow what we need with equity from the house.
Wait, so we can keep the bacon-wrapped dates for the cocktail hour?
We can keep the bacon-wrapped dates. From wedding bells to trekking the globe and everything in between. Capture your dreams your way with a no-fee Members Owned Credit Union home equity line of credit. Learn more at membersownedheloc.org. Limitations may apply. Equal housing lender.
Discover the difference that expertise and experience can make in your real estate journey with Next Ag Appraisal and Realty. Whether you need an appraisal, sales, or farm management, Next Ag comes up with a solution with your legacy and goals in mind. Next Ag isn't just their name, it's your future. So why wait? Visit their website today at www.nextagrealestate.com or give them a call at 402-380-0432 and turn your dreams into reality. Your land, your legacy, their solutions. Next Ag Appraisal and Realty.
All right, welcome into the Hoops postgame show. I'm Harrison Arns on the ones and twos. If you guys want to join in, 402-464-5685 is the Sartor Heyman text line. The Nebraska Cornhuskers fall to the Ohio State Buckeyes, 78-69. Definitely a few storylines in this one. A good game from Jamarcus Lawrence. Rick Bass played all right as well, but not a lot of big headlines in terms of Nebraska's roster. And then for the Ohio State Buckeyes, really one guy and one guy only. That would be Battle. 9 for 18, 32 points on the night, 10 for 10 on the free throw line as well, 4 for 12 from the three-point line. Definitely quite a game of two halves. We'll quick go through some stats here for both sides, and then we'll go ahead and just give our first impressions. Field goal percentage, Nebraska 38%, Ohio State 42, three-point percentage, Nebraska 30, Ohio State 38. Free throws, I'm sure we'll talk about this. Nebraska, 87%, and then Ohio State, 85%. The big difference there, Nebraska only had 8 free throw attempts on the entire night compared to Ohio State's 28. Rebounding battle, Nebraska lost that one as well, 33-43 in Ohio State's favor. Assist numbers, 15-13. Nebraska gets that. Steals, 7-2. And then a few other ones. Key one, turnovers. Nebraska did okay there, 8 compared to Ohio State's 13s. But nonetheless, Ben, just give me your initial thoughts on the game.
Well, I also want to say that Nebraska broke their season record for most three-pointers in a season. This season with this, they hit 10 three-pointers tonight. So they now have a new school record for how many threes they've hit.
What's the number?
They have 274 on the season this year. And in 2018, 2019, it was 270.
Okay.
So
I can see
the
that.
most three-pointers they've hit in a season. So if you want to maybe take a positive from the game, they set a record there. But yeah, it was this is something I really just want to start off with where, like, I guess I've really noticed it in the past 2 games, and it might have been something that's been happening for longer, but against Indiana in their last game, Nebraska gave up a lot of free throws. Indiana didn't shoot well from the free throw line, which I think kind of saved Nebraska a little bit. And then now, once again tonight, Ohio State, 28 free throws. It's like Nebraska has been allowing teams to get to the free throw line quite a bit in their last couple of games. And it's just been really interesting to me because I don't know what they're doing differently that is causing that on the defensive end.
Yeah, this is where you get into the the officiating debate. I'll quick say this.
Yeah.
I don't think I can't sit here and say Nebraska played well enough to win this game. Or
No.
I should say they played well enough to deserve to win this game. You can argue the refs weren't great, but that's no surprises. It's not just Big Ten. It's not just Big E. You go to any conference, the officiating is a bit all over the place. Purdue, UConn, Houston, all those great teams, they've gone through bad officiating games too. The difference is they're good enough to persevere through it. For Nebraska, I don't see them doing anything on defense differently that allow that many free throw attempts.
Yeah,
To see 28-8 is quite the spread. But again, it's just one of those things you have to try to find a way to overcome it. There's small things in there. You lose the rebounding battle too. That's not going to do you any favors. But again, it just felt like a game where you didn't have a ton of players that were really on top of their game outside of Jamarcus Lawrence. K-State Tamanaga, you're hoping for him to kind of come back and have a big game. CJ Wilcher started off cold. He hits a corner three. You're thinking, okay, maybe this is it for him. But he still continues to stay cold. Out of the roster here for Husker Hoops, do you get worried about any of these players? A guy like CJ Wilcher, as we're getting closer to this Big Ten tournament and obviously March Madness.
I mean, if I was going to say someone that I would be worried that wouldn't produce as much as what we would hope for in March Madness, I feel it could be Mast. Just because I feel like this was a very favorable matchup for Mast.
He struggled on the road.
And he 14 is not bad, but this is a matchup Mast should be able to exploit more than 14 points, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like he should be high teens, low 20s at least.
Yeah.
And when he goes against bigger, more athletic bigs, which he's gonna probably do when Nebraska makes the NCAA tournament, I just feel like he's gonna struggle, and Nebraska's gonna need somebody else to produce if it's not gonna be Mast, because he just really has not only struggled on the road but against more athletic centers.
Yep, you're seeing that. Like, he can, oddly enough, a guy like Zach Edey, who's not as athletic, he has a better shot against. He does a lot better, and you give him credit. He's a skilled player, high IQ player, but he definitely struggled. If the shot's not going for him early, because he's got a lot of good post moves. I like all the shots he takes. He doesn't really take too many shots out there where I wonder what he's looking at, but it's just when they're not falling and he can't stretch out the floor, you're definitely right. He has a hard time against those more athletic bigs, especially if he's struggling to pull him out and get him out to the perimeter. And it does feel like he needs to kind of be that guy on the road. I've believed a lot of times that this team, when they get on these road games, even though they've kind of conquered that a little bit, obviously with a few wins, it does feel like they just still need someone to really just take the reins on offense when things are getting a little too fast paced, because there was that point where Ohio State was starting to slow down a little bit. Nebraska was catching up. It was about a 2-point game. At that point, you just need really good possessions to slow things down and get it to a guy who's just going to get you a bucket.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like a lot of times when Mast has quote unquote struggled, I feel like it's just because he hadn't taken that many shots.
Yeah.
He wasn't going down low. He had 14 shots tonight. Like, he actually was being sort of aggressive, trying to get his shot. They just weren't falling. He was 5 of 14 from the field. Like, that's just not, and he was 2 of 5 from the 3-point line. So that's pretty decent.
Yeah, you'll take that.
But he was only 3 of 9 the rest. Like, that's just, he did not have a very productive night. And against a team like Ohio State, you just expect a little bit more for that. So more from him. So I'm a little worried about Mast being able to have big games when Nebraska gets to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. The one thing that gives you comfort about this roster is that maybe it doesn't even have to be Mast, because we have seen it. We have seen this roster have a litany of different weapons they can kind of call out to. But again, the road game bugaboos. This one, again, it's just a hard game to look at because you took more shots than Ohio State. You made 26 to their 23. You made 10 threes to their 8. The biggest difference is you just didn't have as many free throws. And again, I don't want to call this entire game out on bad officiating, but when you make more 2-point field goals, you make more 3-point field goals, and then you lose the game, it's frustrating to see that kind of free throw discrepancy. Because again, the turnovers weren't bad for Nebraska. They did better than Ohio State in that margin. The only things you can really point to where you say maybe Nebraska wasn't as hungry for this one is the rebounding battle, 33 to 43.
Yeah.
But in every other category, they still played well enough. Just the free throw margin. That's what's frustrating about this game. And again, if you want to be those teams and you don't want to leave it to the ref's hand, if you want to be Purdue, you want to be those great teams. They got a real shot to win March Madness games. You don't ever want to leave it to the refs. But when you do have the results, it is frustrating. And it's Nebraska today. It might be Purdue tomorrow or Northwest. It's a problem that's been going on for a little bit too long. And we'll see what it looks like next year. But the officiating is definitely questionable at times.
I mean, but also on that, Nebraska was not as aggressive trying to get to the rim.
I don't know. I saw a lot of good attempts at the rim and guys hitting the deck. And when you're hitting the deck over and over and you're not getting whistles, it maybe does get in your head to stop crashing in there.
I'm not going to blame it all on that, but Ohio State was definitely more aggressive, probably getting to the rim. So that kind of accounts for some of that. But yeah, that's a 20 free throw discrepancy, like 20 difference in free throws attempted. That's quite a bit. So I think it's a mix of both officiating and Nebraska maybe just not being as aggressive trying to get to the hoop. Another person it's just been really weird to me is ever since Jamarcus Lawrence has gone to the bench, Wilcher has just kind of been a non-factor. And I don't even know if it's as much of him not playing as well. His 3-point shot has definitely gone cold, but it's just like Lawrence went into the Wilcher role and now Wilcher's just not playing as many minutes, not shooting the ball as much. It's just kind of interesting to me because he was such a big part of Nebraska's success in the early part of the season.
Yeah. And that's one thing when it's with Fred Hoiberg, he's just going to play the hot hands.
Yeah.
And you know what?
And that's Lawrence right now.
He's trusting CJ Wilcher to eventually pull out of it, but he's definitely he'll cut down on minutes at times if he just doesn't feel like you have it that night. And with CJ Wilcher, part of me just wants him to get a little more comfortable, find some more rhythm shots before he starts taking the heat check threes.
Yeah.
I think it does get in your head. He's really looking for that shot because I know he's a good enough shooter. I think at the start of the game, he was still 41% from the 3-point line. So still a great shooter. But when you just keep looking for the shots over and over again, that's one of those things where, too, if you're CJ Wilcher, that's on the scouting report. Like you said, maybe you do try to get to the rim more, get to the free throw line, and just see it go in a couple times and try to get yourself out of the slump that way.
Yeah, Nebraska didn't shoot great from the 3-point line. They made more threes than Ohio State, but they also attempted 12 more.
Yep.
So Nebraska only shot 30% from the 3-point line. Not great. Could have been worse, but also didn't help in Nebraska's favor when you're shooting 33 threes and you only make 30% of them. It's going to hurt you. But this was just kind of a disappointing loss for Nebraska because it was a chance to get a quad 1 win on the road. And that just really would have completely locked Nebraska into the tournament, in my opinion. I still think Nebraska is going to make the tournament, but if you get bounced first round of the Big Ten tournament, are there going to be some questions? What do you think?
Bounce first round.
Well, like first game Big Ten, because they might get double bye.
If it's double bye, like obviously we're sitting here, it's fine. If they're sitting there at that double bye spot, they're probably still getting in. But as we got Rutgers and Michigan left, that's on the TV right now. It's one of those, if you lose to Rutgers, okay, you lose to Michigan, who's getting blown out by Rutgers by 20 points right now. You lose your double bye, especially the way Northwestern's playing. Northwestern's looking really good. They're playing some of their best basketball this season. I'm not sweating it out.
Yeah.
I still think you get in. I still think you've done enough to this point where you're going to get a shot.
Although the Wisconsin win's not looking as good as what it was a month ago.
Yes, that's
not even
the other part. But then it helps, we also have those wins. You look at Minnesota, it's a good win there. Michigan State, they kind of pulled their season out of the gutter, so that's a good win. And obviously it's not as good as some of those other wins, but you still got to win over Northwestern. Yeah. So you got enough on your resume where you've gone through the best of the Big Ten, where I'd find it hard to believe that, the only way is if they completely lose this one and they lose against Michigan at home. That's worst case scenario. And even then, I think it'd be pretty hard to lock this team out.
Nebraska's gotten the top resume wins. They have a lot of quality wins, and then they don't have many bad losses. No quad 3 or 4 losses. So I think both of those is going to make this team an NCAA tournament team. We'll have to see. But one last thing before we throw it to break. Battle at 32 points.
Yeah, he took over at the end, especially.
32 points. He attempted 12 threes. He was 4 of 12, so only shot 33%, which, I mean, isn't terrible. But yeah, 32 points. That's just crazy to me. Like, that's almost half of how many points Nebraska had. Nebraska only had 69, and he had 32.
It's crazy to me that he's on Ohio State. Coming from Minnesota to Ohio State. He did feel like everyone knew he was a really good player. He was high on everyone's list in terms of transfer portal guys for a reason. I was obviously 32 is not his normal. He's playing 39 minutes.
Yeah, he played 39 minutes.
He didn't step off the court hardly at all.
I mean, what's the next closest on that? 33? Like, that's an insane amount of minutes that he played tonight.
Yeah, he's a really good player. And again, that's one where if that's the matchup, you know what it's going to be when you're going up against Battle. You saw him last year. At least some of the Huskers did when he was playing on that Minnesota roster. And he really hasn't slowed much down at all this season. He really felt like he had an advantage tonight. Again, you get 10 free throws. You make all 10. Good shooting from the stripe there. Put 10 extra points on 22.
That definitely helps.
Definitely helps him out a little bit there. With that being said, though, we'll throw it to break. We got Ben in here. I'm Harrison Arns. This is the Hoops post-game show. Appreciate you guys listening. 402-464-5685. We'll read some of your comments when we come in for the last segment on the Hoops post-game show. Don't go anywhere.
Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine. Discover the difference that expertise and experience can make in your real estate journey with Next Ag Appraisal and Realty. Whether you need an appraisal, sales, or farm management, Next Ag comes up with a solution with your legacy and goals in mind. Next Ag isn't just their name, it's your future. So why wait? Visit their website today at www.nextagrealestate.com or give them a call at 402-380-0432 and turn your dreams into reality. Your land, your legacy, their solutions. Next Ag Appraisal and Realty.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong? They find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them or a stranger is following them. Perhaps on a date and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People City Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. They just need to look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, when we all do a little, we change a lot.
How was your drive to school?
Let me tell you, I had to get my iced coffee first. I just can't seem to put it down. My favorite rapper just announced a tour. My phone was buzzing like crazy. I'm so excited. I had to text all my friends right then to talk about it. Then someone started calling me and...
Let's try that again.
I turned my phone off right away. I never drive distracted.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
My early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
But it gave my mom and me more time to plan together.
Talk to your family about seeing a doctor. Go to alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Did I forget something?
No, just wanted to tell you I love you. Oh, don't forget to buckle up. Drive safe.
I will. Love you too.
Someone is counting on you to buckle up. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
All right, welcome back into the Husker Hoops postgame. I'm Harrison Arns on the ones and twos. We got Ben in here joining me on a shortened version as the Husker Hoops fall to Ohio State Buckeyes, 69-78. A quick shout out to our sponsors, Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical. Shout out to those guys for sponsoring and making these possible. We don't got a ton of time here. As we've kind of talked about this game, I don't think there's a whole lot left to talk about. You look at these comments here from Harlan. Yes, Ohio State shoots 20 more free throws than Nebraska. We got AI chiming in saying CJ Wilcher has not been the same since he injured his back after his big game. That's one thing that has been talked about.
I kind of forgot about that.
The injury. And that'd be a good deep dive, and curious how that injury is going. But I would expect that it can't be doing too much damage though, because you didn't hear a lot about it and he was back practicing, playing.
I mean, he really hasn't even talked about it.
Yeah, but it could be, it's one of those things.
Just hiding it.
Well, pride too. You don't want to blame it on an injury. It might be a little bit of scapegoat. Unknown texter saying the committee won't go for this. Like, this is where everyone just needs to take a deep breath. All right. We lost to Ohio State. Ohio State was favored to win this game by 2 heading into it. Yeah. Losing this game does not kick Nebraska out of the tournament. Losing to Rutgers after, you're probably still not on your way out of the tournament. Michigan, we can start talking. I'll start having the conversation with you. We can talk about what it looks like if Nebraska has a single bye and they lose in that game as well. Then I'll start having the conversation. They lost to Ohio State. Ohio State is not a terrible team. We don't need to hit the panic button. It's a road game. They didn't get absolutely blown out, so I'm not panicking on this one. Ben, should I panic?
I don't think you should panic that Nebraska is going to make the tournament. You might want to panic on if Nebraska can win a tournament game, though. Because just how successful can Nebraska be away from PBA? Because right now, they only have 2 wins away from PBA.
Well, if they get slated to play in Omaha, you're feeling a lot better.
True, but it's still not PBA.
Mm-hmm.
It's still not home. It's close to home, but it's still not PBA. I still feel like this team can win a tournament game, but this does kind of dampen my expectations a little bit on. It might be more dependent on the matchup than I thought it would be.
Well, we're technically 1-0 on neutral sites. We got that going for us. Wait,
what was that? Oregon State?
Yes,
the blue blood.
It was Oregon State.
Blue blood.
Good call. Yes, Oregon State. That was that one neutral win. I'm kind of in the camp that not that Nebraska's got it completely figured out, but it does feel like they've gotten the road woes a little bit calmed down. They got one, and then again, this game, I didn't think Nebraska looked terrible out there. There's definitely some times where they had a chance to get back into it. You get what I thought was a bad call, went off the Ohio State player's leg. Nonetheless, Ohio State's ball. And then we talked about it. Creek really starts to take over. And I was just, he just played better offense than Nebraska's defense. But I wasn't looking at this game like, man, Nebraska just had no chance. They had a good chance and it just kind of fell apart at the end there for them. I'm not in the total camp that just because they get to March Madness and it's not at home, I still think this team's plenty good enough to go ahead and win that first game.
I agree. I just think this should make you worry more about them being able to win a tournament game than actually making it to the tournament. I think Nebraska's pretty much walked into the tournament. It would take a complete meltdown for them to not make the tournament, in my opinion. I mean, right now, I honestly feel like Wisconsin should be more of a question to making the tournament than Nebraska right now.
Yeah, what is it? 6 out of the last 8 they've dropped?
Yes. And no one's talking about them not being a tournament team.
Yeah. Meanwhile, they're talking about Ohio State being a bubble team, which I'm sorry on the TV broadcasters. They're not on the bubble.
No. But isn't it crazy though that people are still questioning Nebraska with all they've done this year, and then Wisconsin, as cold as they could possibly be as we're heading into March, no one's even talking about them maybe not making the tournament. I do think they're still a tournament team, but I think Nebraska should be ahead of them in that race to make the tournament than Wisconsin. Because you wanted the team, people are making the argument that, Wisconsin was one of the best teams in December. Okay. I don't care if you were the best team and one of the better teams in December. I care if you're one of the better teams in March. And right now you're not. It's just, I don't know. I think it's weird to me. What do you think, Harrison?
Yeah, I'm trying to look at some of their big wins here to kind of argue why. So, I mean, they played Tennessee close. That was a loss, though. Some of their bigger wins, they did get a big win over Virginia. That win over Marquette was really big for them. They did get blown out by Arizona. A win over Nebraska, not bad. A win over Northwestern. Trying to find what's their other big win. I know we're missing one here. They did get Michigan
State. They lost to Purdue.
Yeah, I mean, they've got not as many great wins as I thought. They're definitely got some good wins under their belt.
Yes,
but this is where history does play a part.
If you would switch the names of Nebraska and Wisconsin,
Nebraska's out.
It'd be a completely different conversation right now. And I don't want to be the person to say that, but I'm going to be the person to say it because it needs to be said.
That's fair. Because if Nebraska's sitting there with 18 wins right now and they've dropped 6 of the last 8, they'd certainly be on the bubble. They would not be.
No one would be thinking this is a tournament team. I understand that this team was one of the top ranked teams in December.
Mm-hmm.
You remember when North Carolina was the #1 team in the country a few years back, and then they just Never did it. I get that Wisconsin was playing like they were one of the top teams in the country, but they're not anymore. And I just think it's really weird that no one's even questioning that this team might not make the tournament.
With that being said, because I'm with you on that, I think you can even use Michigan State as an example. You swap our record with Michigan State. Everyone's looking at Michigan State. Certainly, this is a locked-in tournament team because it's Nebraska. You're like, oh, maybe are they good enough?
I agree that like Wisconsin should make the tournament.
Yeah,
they're going to make the tournament. They should. I think Nebraska should too. I think Nebraska should be more. It's just the fact that people think that Wisconsin's above Nebraska right now, and I just don't see it that way.
Yeah, especially when you look at Nebraska. It's like, I understand, we looked it up. They got to win over a really good team in Marquette. Nebraska still got to win over number 1 Purdue. It's like, that's literally as good as you can get, beating the number 1 team in the country.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing. It's like, I feel like the decisions for this is going to be the same thing as like college football playoff committee, where the reason Florida State didn't make the college football playoffs is because they weren't the best team heading into the college football playoffs. The committee wants the best teams to be in the tournament. They don't want the best teams in December. I don't care if you're one of the best teams in December. So that was the same reason Florida State didn't get in. And it was the right decision. Florida State was not the same team when you dealt with, because of the injuries that they had. Obviously, they were a really good team. Injuries derailed it. But you have to take into account, yes, their record is good. I mean, honestly, their record, they might not even reach 20 wins.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. We got to wrap this one up, but let's finish this one from AI because it's a good point from AI. So the Badgers, I'm sure most people are aware, they got a brutal last 2 games here. They got Illinois and Purdue.
They'll probably drop both.
They got 18 wins. So if they drop both of them, they'd be sitting there at 18-12.
And no one's questioning them not making the tournament. And if they get bounced like first round Big Ten tournament,
that's what I was going to make a question. So with that being said, they lose the next 2. They drop one to Illinois, they drop one to Purdue, and say they're not even quite close. 10 double-digit losses. And they lose the first Big Ten tournament game.
Then they shouldn't make it.
I actually agree with you on that. I think you got to be playing your best basketball down the stretch. They've had some good wins early on.
I don't care about that.
At least kind of on the bubble, because that is just an abysmal end to the season. I mean, that'd be losing 8 out of your last 10 games.
Yes. So like
9 out of your last 11.
I'm not saying the games in December don't matter. I'm saying that Wisconsin is just playing
bad basketball.
Nowhere near. Okay. I'm sorry. This was the Nebraska postgame show, and it turned into the Wisconsin show. I'm sorry, Husker fans. I'm just really passionate about that.
Well, on a tough loss, it's okay. I don't think we want to talk Husker hoops the entire night. But nonetheless, we got the Daily Nebraskan up next. Ben will stay here. Who do you got tonight?
Anthony
will be joining him as well. So we will have that up next here. Don't go anywhere on Ticket Weeknights. Appreciate you guys listening, and we'll talk to you in a little bit.
Peace.
If you can plan barbecue